All right. I think we have made it. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're back. It's the Pandemic Proof Singer Series Season 2. It's an all new cast of characters, and I'm really excited to be here. I took a little break from the end of November until today. This is fresh off the coattails of hosting the Pandemic Proof Singer Summit. And that was quite an undertaking. And I needed a big fat break after that. And so I'm really excited to be back tonight. I'm using all new technology tonight. So fingers crossed, everything is going to go off without a hitch. We'll see. But you know how these things work out. If you don't know me, I'm Danielle Tucker. I'm a singer. I'm a vocal coach. I'm one of the lead singers for the Mighty Untouchables band. And as I mentioned, I was the recent producer and host of the Pandemic Proof Singer Summit. I'm super excited to be back tonight, despite the deeply disturbing events of today. My stomach and my heart were just hurting all day long. And I was just so sick about things that I thought, maybe I should postpone tonight. There have been so many times that I've thought that along this way, because I never want to, I don't want to be tone deaf to what's going on in the world, or, be insensitive to what's happening out there. But postponing, canceling, that did not settle well with me either. And so I kind of really leaned into the spirit of what this program is about tonight. It's about moving forward. And it's about community. It's about lifting one another up. It's about inspiring one another. And it's just really about doing hard things. And that's something that we can all do together. So I decided, we're going to do this. I have a really incredible guest tonight. We're just meeting for the first time tonight, and I'm really honored to have him here. He's doing excellent things in the world through his music, and I am a huge fan of that. So I know that we're going to be fast friends. So let me introduce him. He is considered one of the most promising artists of the new generation of Latino singers in America. He is Francisco Ruiz. He's worked as a vocalist and choir director at venues including the Walt Disney Concert Hall, Jimmy Kimmel Live, the Wiltern, Boston Symphony Hall, and others. We are going to chat tonight about his career as a teacher, arranger, choral director, pianist, and singer. And tonight we're going to be getting into his work with virtual choirs and bands during the quarantine. So please, I'm going to bring him on now. Welcome, Francisco Ruiz.
Hello.
How are
Hi,
you?
Danielle. Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm really happy to meet you. You were referred to me by our friend Mariela Contreras. Shout out to Mariela.
Yes. Love her. She's so great.
Too. She's wonderful. So let's back up a little bit, get a little history going here. Why don't you tell me what pre-pandemic music life was looking like for you, what you were doing kind of when all of this craziness hit, and how's it been evolving for you since?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's been quite a roller coaster, I think, for everyone, every musician, and it doesn't matter what what you specialize or focus on. It's hurting mostly performers, but I think that everyone has had to think under just bring the best on them and also learn new skills. So I think, like, for me, before a pandemic, I was doing a lot of just driving around LA. I was doing a lot of vocal coaching on different for different choirs. I've always been an educator since I graduated college, 10 years, 11 years ago. And so teaching in a music school at the Los Angeles College of Music here in Pasadena, California, and just, hustling and doing a lot of different things. And of course, working as a performer, with different bands. I had a Latin group, Huataca System. We used to play in as regulars in West Hollywood, and all of that had, came to a sudden pause, and we had to kind of adjust. A lot of my jobs took a turn, and some of them haven't reopened until now. But some of them did do the transition that to online and virtual. stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, it surely has. Well,
Yeah.
then let's back up even further. Why don't you kind of tell me about your beginnings in music? Where are you coming from? What your musical background was and your influences?
Sure. So I'm from Ecuador, and I was born and raised there. I moved here, when I was 21, so that's 11 years ago. But when I was in Ecuador, I began my career, I think, when I was 12, and I decided I was going to be a pianist. And a lot of people, I went to different places to get training, and a lot of people just told me, they turned me down because they were, you're too old for, especially for the things that I wanted to be. I was like, I want to, play with orchestras and be a concert pianist.
Mhm.
And beginning at 12 was pretty late. I mean, a lot of,
Really?
I mean, it is considered, at least, or that's what I heard. Now I know, and I encourage my students, I have students that are like 65 and they're
Yeah,
just picking up guitar, and it's like, it's never too late.
never too
But
late.
I guess, yeah, I just knocked on the wrong doors, and I was just told that it was too late. So I was also a basketball player. I played a lot of like semi-professional basketball. I'm not really tall. I'm like 5'11". But that was one of my passions. But all of this just kind of, and I had an injury, so then I had to just gather myself in high school and be like, what do I really want to do? And I started singing, and I got a scholarship to go to a conservatory, and I learned some classical, I trained classically, and then I auditioned to be a vocalist, to enter as a vocalist to a Berkeley school in Ecuador. And that's how my journey with Berkeley started. So
Okay.
I auditioned there, got a good scholarship, and then I did 2 years in Ecuador of production, music production, and performance, and then I got a scholarship to go to Berkeley in Boston to
Mhm.
the School of Music, and that's where I got my bachelor's.
Oh,
So
awesome.
that's
So, were you coming from a musical family?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
My mom tells the stories. I always hear my mom make up songs, and but nothing professional. My mom was a stay-home mom, and my dad is a systems engineer.
Mhm.
And so I was going to be that. I dropped out of school and decided to go for music after my first year of college. I decided that engineering wasn't for me, and I took a turn.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we're glad you did.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Oh, that's
I
great.
don't regret it.
So you mentioned, of course, as with all of us, things came to kind of a screeching halt with all of our jobs. But you mentioned that uh, some things have begun picking up for you again. What are some of the things that you're back at?
Um, well, a lot of the coaching that I used to do was, for instance, I teach at a youth arts center in Lincoln Heights here in California, and
Mhm.
um, it took maybe a semester for them to alienate and, like, just kind of get all the ducks in rows so that we could offer classes online. It's kind of tricky with some of the jobs that I'm doing, especially with serving, underserved populations. I work for a place called Home, which is a great nonprofit that focuses on underserved communities and at-risk youth. And it's just kind of weird to offer an online music program
Yeah.
to kids that you are wanting to get them out of the streets. So at least we know now that kids are safe at home.
Mhm.
But that's kind of the purpose of some of these jobs that I did. So, but it's been very gratifying to see the kids, just be very enthusiastic about continuing to learn music during this time. I think it's such a great outlet,
Yeah.
for all of us, but especially for the youth, who's so, it must be so confusing. And so music serves as an outlet to express themselves in some way now.
Yeah, yeah. It really has. I mean, transitioning music education online has been it's a completely different way of doing things, and I really admire the teachers like yourself that have embraced the change and just kind of kept the kept the why behind what we do to move forward with it. And there of course continue to be challenges. I think we're all learning a lot of new things every
Yeah.
day, about technology and different way to do things. But working with the kids online, what are some of the things that have surprised you in a positive way about what you're seeing, despite the frustrations of doing this kind of work online?
Yeah. I think it's just like kids are so resilient,
Yes.
working. And I'm talking because I teach all the, from 6-year-olds to professional singers to, like I said, 65 plus, students. So when I say kids, I mean, like middle school, elementary, middle school
Yeah.
right now. And I think that it's just seeing how it's both a challenge and such a gift to share a moment with them.
Mhm.
And you get to see their homes, you get to hear their dogs barking and their cats jumping on them. It's such an interesting, more intimate thing in a way.
Mhm.
But one thing that has surprised me is how fast kids pick up on things like a virtual choir or like a virtual project. Sending them a link, telling them, okay, you need another device to record yourself and a device to hear your part, and then teaching them how to do that. It's been, I thought it was going to be way more difficult than it has.
Mhm.
So it's like a pleasant surprise to see, like, oh yeah, I mean, kids, they pick up on technology so quick. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's just
that's great.
awesome.
I think you nailed it there, because I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, and they are homeschooling right now. And so, there's quite a few of their classes that we go online for. And obviously, there's been lots of complaints and, challenges and struggles with all of that. But I'm always so excited to see when they do jump online. Um, to attend an online art class, or when they attend the music classes, how much it sparks their energy and how much they get into it. I'm always so happy to see that, they respond that way. And it's a huge reminder that, as worried as we are about our kids and how this is going to impact them, I think we all just have to keep reminding ourselves that kids are so incredibly resilient. And,
Yeah.
we've been on this planet a lot longer than they have. So, everything every day is fresh and new to them. So this is
Yeah.
really just kind of a new experience for them altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I just think that also parents, just caregivers in households, my hat's off to them too. Like, it's being, because you become a teacher as well, and so you get a
Mhm.
little taste of what that is too. To
Mhm.
have the patience and just develop the patience to and learn with them as well, so you can help them. So it's also being interesting to see parents, jump in and, like, being like, hey, let's sing this, or like, pay attention, or like, it's just a sweet thing. And I think that we count our blessings, and I think that that is one of the things that it's being definitely the silver lining, to be closer to parents and kids. You usually just see the kids,
Mhm.
and so to be able to also establish a relationship there, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so right. I really think I'm learning more than my kids are through this experience. They're teaching me a lot more than I'm teaching
Right.
them. That's been clear from the get-go, but there's a lot of silver lining in that. I think, they're getting what they need right now, but it really was a hard look in the mirror when all of this started. I thought, geez, what kind of an impatient monster am I? But
All
so
right.
it's taught me a lot about, patience and kind of slowing down the pace of things, and just giving yourself a lot of grace, and just really kind of
Yeah.
pumping the brakes on what your expectations are sometimes. And I think it's good for our kids to see us do that too. They're really getting a real look at us when they
Yeah.
spend that much time.
Yeah. It doesn't get more real than that, right?
It
Yeah.
doesn't. It doesn't. Oh, I've got Luis Bermudez in the comments, and he's saying music education is essential to shape our future society. Yes. It's rewarding to see young people like Francisco lend their efforts to improve this area. I totally agree. Yeah. Thank you for
Luis
doing
was
that.
my English teacher.
Ah,
So I owe a lot to him too, as I, I mean, living here, of course, helps, but, I came with a solid foundation, and he's one of
mhm.
my teachers from Ecuador. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Luis. Thank you for being here with us tonight. Yeah. Well, I want to jump into talking about virtual choirs and bands. You're doing a lot of work with the music team at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Long Beach. So tell us all about that group and the work you're doing with their virtual choirs.
Yeah, so I work as a music director for the Unitarian Church in Long Beach. I have been with them for about almost 3 years now, and yeah, it's been a great, rewarding experience just to see volunteer singers also step up and get out of their comfort zones, and it's almost like some people would choose not to engage with technology. It was actually a choice. They were like, no, I don't own a phone. I don't want those smartphones. Like, I want to, I want my paper. I want my, my folder. And so now everything is PDF and the Google Drive and record yourself. So it's like all this new added things that I think it's being the challenge, and I'm just grateful to work with volunteers that really push further and really have this idea that you're not doing this for yourself, just for yourself, right? It's about creating content to inspire people to continue to offer that gift to each other. And singing, and this virtual choirs is so interesting because you don't get to hear anyone else until everything is done and put together. And so it's such an individual experience of singing. And so it can be super challenging. I've had, most of my singers are, okay, let's do it. And then some of them are like, it's not fun anymore because I don't like I don't like this. Recording myself and hearing myself is like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's been interesting as a facilitator, as a coach, you must know too. It's like, it's hard because now everything is recorded and you have to really get comfortable with your own voice.
Yeah.
So.
I want to jump into kind of the nuts and bolts and the process behind how you put a song together. But I just want to say, your comments about that, that's so true. That's really something I hadn't thought about too much is in virtual choirs, normally these groups are together, and the whole aspect of community and togetherness is such a huge part of being in a choir. In a choir, you are blending. It's all about unifying many voices into one. And that has got to be a daunting task for the singers in a group like that who aren't ordinarily soloist or, kind of venturing out and doing something on their own. Because I know here in my own private recording studio, it's intimidating for me being here. And this is what I do for a living. So I can imagine somebody who's a more, at a hobbyist level with things like this, and it, recording and doing things like that's got to be really intimidating for them. But I think it's amazing though when people will embrace that and step out of their comfort zones and do something. And I think it's important for them to know that their peers and others that are getting to enjoy the music are so inspired by that, and the world really needs to hear our voices more than ever.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that the whole idea of I'm doing this again. This is most of this process of recording is not fun, but when I get to see myself and when I get to hear my voice with others, and in a video, and you know, I've gotten better at like editing video too. So, you know, it's not just like stationary, but you know, we have a band as well. So, you know, mixing that in. So it's just all it's been, I think that everybody looks forward to the final project. And, you know, if it was only for the sake of recording yourself and having fun, you know, especially with a community choir, it's a little harder. I direct a choir in college. And so that's a little different, right? I mean, you make it a teachable. They're there to learn from you, right, in that way. So it's actually kind of cool to learn those skills. But when you're retired and you're just singing for fun, it's like, you know, you got to make it exciting. So that's been cool. It's been really inspiring to see everyone just kind of hop on the train and be like, yeah, everyone's doing it and we're doing it too, and this is awesome. So
yeah. Well, walk me through what your process is. So, you know, are you putting band tracks together and then sending them out to the choir? How are you teaching them their individual parts? How are you keeping them in sync with one another? How does that whole process run for you?
Yes, it's being a learning curve. I mean, nobody taught me how to do this. I kind of figured it out as I went. And you know, I was just looking at our YouTube channel, the UUCLB Music in YouTube, and I was just checking our first songs, and you can definitely see a learning curve. You know, the first one was like a little excerpt of "Set Me as a Seal," which is this beautiful like choral song, but it's pretty long. And we just did the first verse. It was literally maybe a minute of music, and so, or less than that. And so the way it works is I have a piano accompanist who records the piano track, and then I record all the voices. So I use Logic as a DAW, or, you know, digital workstation, and I record myself singing from soprano, alto, like if there's splits. So I do all the recording. So I have a version of just me singing the song. Okay. And then what I do is I start mixing reference tracks, which is, you know, putting the soprano on your so everybody gets their part on their right ear, and the rest of the choir on their left ear. Okay. Kind of to mimic the fact that you're singing not just your part, but you're also you can hear, if you want to, you know, put both headphones, you hear your part really loud, and then the left, you know, the bass, and, you know, so that you can blend a little bit more. So that seems to work really well. And then so I send, that's the first part, right? Just recording and mixing the reference tracks, putting them on Google Drive and sending them a link to access them. And then it comes the hard part, which is then in rehearsals, through Zoom, you explain the parts, you go over, you know, any tricky spots, you know, anything. What's cool is that anything that they miss it's fixable, but it's also more work in the post-production part, right? The editing, everything, making sure everything is synced. So we've established the clapping at the beginning, so I can see the wave just go boom. And the videos too. So in my process, when I get all the videos, then I mix that first. So I edit them, I make sure everyone's in sync, and then I mix it, and then I have like a rough mix, and then I use that on Final Cut Pro to edit the videos to that final audio. So it's a whole process. I mean, it takes hours. I don't know how I was doing it. At the beginning, I was doing 2 videos a week for at least 3 months. We did that. Wow. And then of course we burned out and we had to, like, you know, bring it back. We do 1 or 2 a month. And now it's more, we're thinking, you know, it went from like just quantity, let's do it, let's keep people engaged and create content, to now it's a little more structured and organized. And it's like, okay, we have our next big challenge is Bohemian Rhapsody. So we're like, okay, wow, we're gonna take our time. So, you know, it's just fun. I think that they've come to a place where it's actually enjoyable. And I've come to also understand what are the things that I can do as a director to facilitate that those tracks, or sometimes I do a conducting track and I'm actually conducting with the reference track that they hear. That way they know where to cut,
Yeah.
or there's a couple of groups of people that are selling. They sell a package of songs, so you pay $50 and you get all the legwork. So you get the reference tracks, you get all the videos. So you just mix them,
Yeah.
So
Well,
there's different ways for it's a pretty good business. I think everyone's doing it.
Yeah, it is. That's very innovative. Tell me about what that's been like coaching the singers through this process, as far as like, all right, here's the technology you need to set up at home. Here's what you need to listen through. And, because every room sounds different. Every device creates a different sound. What are the guidelines that you've established for them?
We try to be very inclusive in this work, and it's been really hard to really live and really make everything so inclusive in this way, which is a very exclusive. You need internet and just simple things that you just assume that everybody has, and it really is kind of ableist to think that everybody has this, so you don't have to worry about it. So as a director, I try to be very aware of that, and so trying to make it if you don't have this, then there's this option. So just giving options. But ideally, you want a phone, like a smartphone, and most people have a phone that can record video, and so just having a little phone and then just making it in selfie mode, so you can look at what's going on, hitting record, and then pressing play and reading your music, right? So in the coaching, you focus a lot on that aspect, and something so like we say simple, and it's generational. A lot of generations know Google Drive, really easily. They've been using Dropbox for so long, so it's just transitioning into a Google thing. But for some, it's like, okay, what what is that? Like, so I open it, but so how do I save it? And if I so it's a little confusing. So just going through all of that, the process of making everything available for everyone. So I think that it's evolved. Right at the beginning, it was all about just explaining how you need to wear headphones, for instance. It's like, because I need your voice when you record yourself. I need only your voice, and all those little details that you don't think about. You're just like, oh, I'm just gonna press play and sing to it.
Right.
And so I started getting some tracks that had the back, the reference track. I could hear the piano really loud, and so I couldn't mix their voices. So, but somehow we made it work, and now it's a little easier.
Yeah. Well, bless you for being so patient and so willing, willing to walk them through it. You made a great point about what we kind of take for granted, especially as musicians, or just individuals who are blessed with certain privileges or whatever, or we've got internet, or we've already got gear at home. We've got a smartphone or whatever. One thing that really was eye-opening for me was earlier in quarantine, I had attended the NATS virtual conventions, the National Association of Teachers of Singing, and they were having heavy discussions on how are we going to equip students to do any of this, because it's very easy for us to say, okay, we'll just have the kids, get their iPads out and jump onto Zoom, and we'll have them get a USB mic or something like that. But you really have to remember that there are so many out there that they don't have any of these devices. They don't have internet. So there are there's a lot of people out there that are struggling or missing out on these things. So it is important, for everyone not to take for granted these things that we already have. And it's a challenge. It really, really is.
Absolutely. And it was a national challenge. If you just think about education period,
Yeah.
just making sure that everybody had a laptop, everybody had internet, providing hotspots, I think that it was one of the things that showed up immediately of, okay, let's make it work. And I think that a lot of big companies help with that. And I applaud that they use that, their power and their privilege, as you said,
Yes.
to help and to really help this time. It's like we've always dreamed of free internet, or like the dream of like everyone having a device or whatever, or being connected. But now it had to, or the other option was complete disconnection. And so, like I said, a lot of my singers were not doing a technology by choice, and they had to make different choices, and that must have been really hard for them. But it becomes this okay, or I create community now, or like socialize in a way, in this weird way, but at least there's something, Zoom. Yeah. Or I just don't do any of that at all. And so it kind of forced some people to change. Yeah. So it's so I always kind of try to acknowledge the fact that it has been rough, and it is hard, and for some people more than others. For some of my singers, they're like, oh, my life hasn't really changed because I'm always home. I work from home. I don't really like people, and I don't really like going out. So this is great, and then some people, it's like, no, they're really struggling, all our extroverts there, it's like, how do I live with myself right now?
I know, that's so true. Well, you've done a phenomenal job pulling the group together. This week I looked at the YouTube channel for the church and the virtual choirs, and I looked first at the most recent song that you had posted, which I think was the holiday medley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, listening to it, I'm like, wow, this is really tight. Everybody's together. The harmonies were like on point, and it sounded amazing. And so then I went back to the earliest ones, which were also good, but starting at the earliest one and kind of working towards the most recent one, you can see how much of an improvement and how much tighter things are. And you can see that, there must have been so many big lessons learned along the way.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. And you also become quicker, you become faster at some tasks some tasks take you shorter, so you can focus more on, and you make choices of what to focus more. I've decided to, nowadays I don't spend a lot of time fixing every individual voice, but I have little tricks of how to quantize, so that everybody is doing it to a click. So I can get everyone to quantize it and make it a little tighter. Definitely technology helps. Some of my singers, they always joke. They're like, okay, well, people are going to get used to hearing us like this. And when they come see us, live, it's going to be different because you can add reverb as if you're in like a cathedral, right? And our church is like, it's a humble space. So it's like, but it's cool. I mean, it's awesome to be making history like that with a group of singers that are, just offering their voices and talents to each other in that way. I mean, we did not have a YouTube channel until this happened. So it's just, now we can look back. It's like, oh, 2020, you have all these videos, you have, and music too, that is, it's meant something to everyone. We make a point to, choosing songs that are inclusive, like I said, that are, have universal messages of hope and love. And so it's just really, really beautiful to see all of that. And if you check out the YouTube channel, there's also our contemporary band. They call themselves the Wilder Spirits. And it's just great to see, great songs and, great people too. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that, for my work there.
Well, very cool. It seems like an amazing group. That's funny that you said that, it'll be a different thing once they're back kind of live doing it. And I think, for a lot of people who participate in church choir and bands and everything, you have your one or two services, that you get to sing or play out live, and then it's over. But in this virtual setting, all this content's being created, that you now have to share, with a lot more people, friends, family get to see you, which they ordinarily wouldn't get to do. And I think that's a
Right.
really cool experience for a lot of people too. They've never heard themselves recorded before, or they've never had something that they could show others. And I think that's a cool experience.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I didn't think about that, but I have a lot of choir members that they love sharing. Like you said, it's just like they're proud of the work that they do, and it's also beautiful to be able to share that with more people than the people that just show up on a Sunday, or or in the case of a college choir, you really just play for each other or sing for each other, or when you have a recital, that's it. But to be able to create content that can be shared globally, in an Instagram page, or or in YouTube, and then being able to see those that's rewarding, as a performer, especially if you're studying performance right now, all of you kids are there that are like, it's hard, and I get it, but it's cool too to be honing that talent, that the recording part, really working on your own voice, and then also the opportunity of collaboration. I mean, look at us. I mean, we got connected through a mutual friend, and here we are, doing something we haven't met before, and it's just beautiful to see those as opportunities.
Yeah.
to work with anyone. And I always say, like, songwriters, like, just go out there and find someone to collaborate. Everyone is doing it, and now everyone is more accessible too. So just knock some doors and get some songs done, because the world needs that.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely. I'm seeing some comments about asking to share the name of the YouTube channel, or how they can find that YouTube channel.
Oh, yes. So let me maybe there's a way that I can send you the link and you can share it. But if you go on YouTube and you just put UUCLB, UU as Unitarian Universalist Church C of Long Beach. So UUCLB, and you can put UUCLB Choir or UUCLB Music. You'll be able to find our channel. It's called UUCLB Music.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah. Before we went live, you had mentioned that there's a song debuting tonight. Is that for the church, or is that for a different project?
Yeah, that is for the church. The church is premiering our video, Bridge Over Troubled Water, by Paul Simon. Okay. And it's a cool collaboration. We did it with a pianist and a drummer, and our 10 awesome singers, for that specific song. And it's just been, I try to use some of those things from YouTube that you can premiere and schedule it for later. So we get a lot of people, we did a Christmas concert too, and that was premiered. So that's going to be available in about 20 minutes.
Yay. So right after we jump off here, make sure you go to YouTube and check that out.
Yeah.
Very cool. Look forward to seeing that. And I'll definitely share out a link too. So everybody can see it if they're joining us after the fact. But all right. Well, so tell me, what is going on with you as an individual artist? What sorts of things are you working on now, and what are your plans for the future as things continually progress and conditions better? Yeah.
2020 was a lot of just kind of, it kind of caught us all off guard, in not just like creatively, but also in our homes and professionally, and just having to just juggle with all these different changes. And so that was also an opportunity for me to kind of, step away and see what are the priorities, what are the things that I really look forward to doing when the world opens up again.
Mhm.
And then also just right now when things are still, you know, not looking very promising. Hopefully the vaccine gets to our homes soon.
Yeah.
But you know, in that process, I just realized that I haven't written music in a long time. I've done a lot of collaborations, and that's really my passion. You know, I do some beatboxing and some like bass singing, and so
Mhm.
I've done a lot of that for different groups. I write backgrounds vocals for some artists in Ecuador, in my hometown, and so all of that is kind of like creative, but I'm still missing that, like, okay, what's, you know, after all this, you know, maybe 5 years or 4 years that I haven't really sat down and wrote a song, like
Mhm.
what's going to come out, you know. I'm kind of looking forward to making that time for myself. So I think that, you know, this might be the year where I release either an EP or a few singles. I you know, I as an artist, you continue to evolve, and there's times, you know, I wrote I have an album. It's on my website right now, but it's an album that I wrote for my, you know, just from my heart, for like all, you know, for my background as a Christian. And
Mhm.
so, you know, it's an album for God. And so you know, it's this album that's available, and that was the last thing that I did. And it kind of was like just, you know, closing that chapter and moving on with all, just being grateful for all that, you know, base of just belief and faith, and having that close to my heart. So I mean, there's just so many different directions that it can go, but definitely I am a believer of, you know, like Bobby McFerrin says, you know, it's this redeeming music, you know, music that can uplift people. And that's definitely something that I keep close to my heart. And, you know, my message may be more universal now, as not so specific to a, you know, a specific group of people, but just talking about universal topics, you know, like love and hope, and just the struggle that we've and coming out of on the other side, you know, with a better and brighter light. So
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
definitely that's a timeless message, I would say.
Mhm.
So, when was that project? When was that last project that you had released?
Yeah, so I released this album in 2017. So that was in March of 2017.
Mhm.
And I wrote this music, and this was a year after I had gone to Viña del Mar, which is kind of like the Eurovision like version of South America, so
Mhm.
or you know, or Latin America. So I went there with an artist, Paulina Aguirre, and we won this songwriting competition with her, and that was so cool, and it kind of reignited that flame of like, okay, like, you know, performance and writing music. So I finished up that project the next year, and I released it in Ecuador. It got a great, you know, we toured 4 different cities, and I always try to mix my performance career with workshops, because I just love working with singers.
Mhm.
So and so I did some workshops, and I also you know, toured with a band in Ecuador.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that was 3 or 4 years ago. So it's time to see
Yeah.
what's come out, what comes out now.
Original projects are a huge undertaking. There's so much
Mhm.
that goes into them, and it's not just, resources wise, it's about the physical, mental, spiritual energy that it takes, the creative energy that it takes to put something like that together, and so, I assure
Yeah.
you that your most recent project was much more recent than my most recent project. And it's because when I think about it, I'm like, I'm not sure that I have that in me right now.
Right. It is. That's why, like, collaborating just seems like, okay, we're sharing this weight. You know, it's not just
Yeah.
me, and it's also, you know, a matter of like keeping each other accountable, which is such a great thing to do when you collaborate with someone, right?
Mhm.
So that's why that's like more appealing, I think, and that's where I've been not hiding, but more, just for more, my attention has been more in like, let's do this for you, or you have this, let me add my my voices to it and see if you like it. So that's been kind of the premise.
Yeah. Well, where in the space that you're in now, describe to me what your ideal future album would be like. What stylistically would it be like? What kind of instrumentation? I don't know, what would the vibe of it be? Would it be singles? Would it be a full album? If resources were unlimited to you, and if certain musicians were unlimited
right.
to you.
Let's see. So I have a strong passion for a cappella music, and in my background, I got to sing with Bobby McFerrin 10, 11 years ago. That's so and cool. It was an amazing opportunity when I was in Boston school. And so just getting that improvisation and circle singing and that like wordless music, music without words, just kind of sounds, and just inviting the audience to be a part of the music making, not just music listening. In that process, I think that's something that I've always wanted to kind of explore more and see what I can do with my language. Doing it in Spanish, I speak some Portuguese too, so using that as well, and seeing what comes out in a setting of improvisation and like heavy vocal production. Mm-hmm. That's definitely like where I see it. I also have envisioned it with some percussion. So like percussion from all over the world, having some tablas and some djembes and mixing it with different rhythms. So I think that's like, if I could just choose one thing, I would definitely get all of the singers and all kinds of instruments and rhythms from everywhere, and just kind of adding my little touch to it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I also have this like overdue promise to myself that I wanted to release like a pop ballad. Okay. I have written a lot of ballads for other people, and I have some songs that I've written, so it's just a matter of getting them done. So I think that's the next step. I think it'll be a mix. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or maybe both. You never know. Just it could be both.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Have you thought about for you as an artist, what is that impact that like deep inside you always hope you're making with your music, whether it's cover music or it's, your own original stuff? I'm always interested to hear this because, like, for example, one artist that I recently had on, Johnny Tarr, he says with his music, he likes to make people dance. That's the feeling he is trying to, evoke there. Right. For me personally, I love to make people cry. For me, that tells me that people are having an experience, they're feeling inspired, or it's tapping into some kind of emotion for you. Have you thought about what that is for you?
Yeah. I think there's maybe a couple of things, but the one that stands out to me is maybe like feeling like it's like when you hear a song that's done a cappella and you don't really notice that it's only voices until someone tells you, or like what happened with "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Like a lot of people think first that it's a Bob Marley song. That's funny. Mm-hmm. And it's even on YouTube, like millions of hits, and it says Bob Marley, and it's actually Bobby McFerrin. Right. But it's a song too that you would never think like, oh, there's no instruments, like that's. Mm-hmm. And so you listen back as a person, you're like, oh, that's really cool. I did not know that it was just him going and like like all and everything is just vocal. So I have a strong just passion for vocal music, and as a singer and as an educator, that's everyone who knows me knows this. And so I think that that's one of the, just sharing that passion for a cappella music, and maybe getting that reaction, maybe getting that like, oh wow, this is just voices, like that's crazy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, kind of like releasing some shock and awe on them, or kind of showing them what the human voice is capable of doing. That's very cool. Ah,
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I hope you get to create your dream album in the near future. We're nearing 7:00, so I don't want you to miss your own song premiere.
Oh, yeah.
And let's remind everybody to, as soon as we jump off of here at 7:00, Francisco's virtual choir from the Unitarian Universalist Church of Long Beach, they're premiering a song on YouTube, and you can find them on YouTube by searching UUCLB. And at 7, you'll see that premiere. Where are the other places that people can find you? What's like your main social platform that they should look at?
Yeah, well, Facebook, Francisco Ruiz as an artist page, or my personal page has a bunch of friends too, but my artist page is I think that where I direct everyone there. And then Instagram is also a big one, Francisco J Ruiz M. Mm-hmm. So I've been meaning to change it to something easier, like Francisco Vocals, like my website. My website is franciscovocals.com. But yeah, so those are the main one: Facebook, Francisco Ruiz, Instagram, and yeah, that's it.
Well, I will pop those into the comments so everybody can see those. And yeah, definitely go over to Francisco Vocals too, so they can check out your album that we talked about. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Thank you for braving the new technology with me tonight. Seems like it worked.
It works, yeah.
I hope.
Thank you so much, Anil.
I hope we don't hang up here and people be like, well, we couldn't hear you. The mics were
right. It was all blank. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and it's just been great. And thank you for doing this series. I know I'm looking forward to hearing like all the you have a guest every week, right?
Yeah. So I'll be back every Wednesday. We'll be here. We've got a lineup of some really incredible singers coming up. So you can join me here every Wednesday. Someone new. Everybody's welcome to jump into the comments and ask. And you can even send me requests of your favorite singers that you'd like to hear on here. But it's really been a pleasure getting to know you. I knew that if you were referred by Mariela, that you would be a wonderful person, because she's an amazing human being who I love so much. Thank you, Mariela. And it's great to get to know you. I hope that when the world opens up again, we'll have an opportunity to sing together at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're local, and I go to San Diego often too, so that would be great.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Francisco, and thank you to everybody who stopped in and joined us tonight. Definitely appreciate you. Hope you got a lot out of tonight. And again, a reminder just to come back every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. and we will have a new singer on here to share their journey and hopefully uplift everyone with some fun inspiration. But for now, we will sign off and say good night. Take care.
All right. Good night.